All right, let's dive into a story that on the surface seems pretty straightforward. It's about a king who has a serious, and I mean serious, grudge against tigers. But trust me, underneath that wild premise, there's this brilliant, razor-sharp critique of power, of pride, and the absolute absurdity of thinking you can fight your own destiny.
So, first things first, let's meet our guy. Officially, the king is known by this ridiculously long and grand title. You can almost hear the trumpets, right? The whole point is to make him sound overwhelmingly important, powerful, almost godlike.
But all that pomp and circumstance, it just gets popped like a balloon in an instant. Because, nobody actually used those titles. Everyone just called him the Tiger King. And right there, in that little contrast, the author is basically winking at us, letting us know from the get-go that this is going to be fun.
So why that nickname? Why the Tiger King? Well, that brings us right to the heart of his story, a really bizarre destiny that was laid out for him the moment he was born.
Okay, get this. When the king was just a tiny baby, the royal astrologer makes this chilling prediction. He says the king's death will come from a tiger. Now, most people might be, a little freaked out by that, but not this king. Oh no. He decides to declare a one-man war on fate itself. His solution is just as arrogant as it is absurd. He's like, fine, I'll just kill 100 tigers. Problem solved.
But here's the thing. This obsessive tiger hunt isn't just some quirky plot point. It's the engine for the story's real purpose, which is to deliver this powerful satire on the foolishness of people in charge. You see, the author, who wrote under the pen name Kalki, was an absolute master of satire. He wasn't just telling fun stories for the sake of it. No. He was taking aim at the big social and political issues of his day, and he uses this king's completely ridiculous quest to make a much, much bigger point about the arrogance of power.
This really breaks down the two layers of the story, On the surface, you've got the king's goal, defy destiny, prove he's invincible. But just beneath that, you have the author's real goal, to expose that kind of arrogance and show just how fragile power really is. The king's obsession is just the perfect vehicle for that critique. So how does Kalki pull this off so brilliantly? Well, he uses some of the sharpest tools in the literary toolbox. Specifically, 3 different kinds of irony that all stack on top of each other to create this masterpiece of satire.
First up, we've got situational irony. This is that classic twist, right? It's the gap between what you expect to happen and what actually goes down. It's kind of like when reality decides to play a prank on you and the outcome is often funny or sometimes even tragic.
And here's the perfect example from the story. After brutally hunting down 99 wild, ferocious tigers, the king just needs one more. So his minions find him this tame, old tiger. I mean, it's basically a guaranteed win. He takes his careful aim at this super easy target, and he misses. The one time it was supposed to be a piece of cake, the mighty hunter completely fails.
Next up, Kalki uses what's called dramatic irony. This is a great one. It's when we, the audience, knows something important that a character in the story doesn't. It's like we're in on the secret, and it's a fantastic way to build up suspense and tension.
So the king just strolls away, totally convinced he's killed that 100th tiger and conquered his destiny. He's throwing a party, celebrating his amazing triumph. But we know the truth. The hunters, who are way too terrified to tell him he missed, they know the truth. We're all just sitting here watching him celebrate, knowing he's living a lie and his doom is right around the corner.
And all of this builds to the biggest, most powerful form of irony in the whole story, cosmic irony, or the irony of fate. This is the idea that the universe itself has a really twisted sense of humor, and that maybe destiny is just messing with you for its own entertainment.
I mean, think about it. The king survives battles with 99 real, dangerous clawing tigers. He looks death right in the eye, over and over again. But what finally gets him? A tiny little sliver of wood from a cheap toy tiger he bought for his son. The sliver gets infected, and the great Tiger King dies. Fate absolutely had the last laugh, and it wasn't with a roar, but with a splinter.
Can we just pause for a second and appreciate the sheer incompetence here? How do you fail your life's mission when the finish line is a tame animal that can barely stand? You take careful aim, you miss completely, and then you let your terrified staff cover it up while you celebrate a victory that never even happened. It's just a perfect, hilarious summary of his arrogance and the absolute fear he ruled with.
But this story isn't just about some made-up, foolish king. It was a very sharp critique of the world that Kalki was actually living in. You've got to remember, the story is set in pre-independence India. This was a time when many local rulers were way more concerned with sucking up to their British overlords than with, taking care of their own people. The Tiger King is a perfect caricature of this. At one point, he drains his kingdom's treasury buying a bunch of expensive diamond rings for a British official's wife. And why? Not for diplomacy, but just to bribe her so her husband won't hunt tigers in his forest. It's all about his ego, not his duty.
And this is where the story becomes truly timeless. Because the Tiger King's flaws, they aren't just some relic of the past.
Just think about these traits for a second. Egotism, self-obsession, ignoring what people need for your own personal gain, misusing power and funds, surrounding yourself with yes-men who are too scared to tell you the truth. It's a pretty uncomfortable parallel, isn't it? The story really acts like a mirror, showing us how these same follies of power can pop up in any era, in any country, under any system.
And in the end, it all comes down to this. One tiny, insignificant sliver of wood. A seemingly harmless little thing that completely unraveled a lifetime of arrogant, forceful ambition. It's the ultimate symbol of how the smallest, most unexpected details can bring down even the most powerful people.
So the story leaves us with this question, and it's so much more than just a funny critique. It's this profound statement on the illusion of control. It suggests that maybe true power isn't about dominance or brute force, but something way more fragile. And maybe, just maybe, the very thing we think makes us invincible is what leads to our downfall.